We are going to pick up where we left off, and this title of this chapter is called Goodbye. And sometimes we have to look at the titles of the chapters, of course, to give us an idea of what's happening as we think about predicting what we're about to read, and we get our mindset. And we've talked about that before in class, that we get our mindset ready for what we're going to read, and we can kind of get into that mode and expect different things to happen. So I will warn you with this chapter, this is a sad chapter. I have my tissues ready because I'm not good at emotional books or parts of books, and it makes me very sad. So I'll do my best to hold it together. Augie, said Via, come quick. Mom needs you. And honestly, we're going to get into adverbs, just a little side note here, and that really should say come quickly. But this is dialogue, and not a lot of people talk like that, and Via doesn't, so the author didn't write it that way. However, I'll get into that in a little bit, maybe next week, when we start talking about our adverbs. Well, I guess it won't even be next week. It'll be in a couple of weeks. Anyway, okay, let me start over again. I'm so sorry to get that side note in there. Augie, said Via, come quick. Mom needs to talk to you. I'm not apologizing. This isn't about you, she yelled. Not everything in the world is about you, Augie. Now hurry up. Daisy's sick. Mom's going to take her to the emergency vet. Come say goodbye. I pushed the pillows off my face and looked up at her. That's when I saw that she was crying. What do you mean goodbye? Come on, she said, holding out her hand. I took her hand and followed her down the hall to the kitchen. Daisy was lying down sideways on the floor and her legs straight out in front of her. She was panting a lot, like she'd been running in the park. Mom was kneeling beside her, stroking the top of her head. What happened? I asked. She just started whimpering all of a sudden, said Via, kneeling down next to Mom. I looked down at Mom, who was crying too. I'm taking her to the animal hospital downtown, she said. The taxi's coming to pick me up. The vet will make her all better, right? I said. Hang on. The vet will make her all better, right? I said. Mom looked at me. I hope so, honey, she said quietly. But honestly, I don't know. Of course he will, I said. Daisy's been sick a lot lately, Augie, and she's old. But they can fix her, I said, looking at Via to agree with me, but Via couldn't look up at me. Hang on. Mom's lips were trembling. I think it might be the time that we say goodbye to Daisy. I'm sorry. No, I said. We don't want her to suffer, Augie, she said. The phone rang. Via picked it up. Okay, thanks. And then she hung up. The taxi's outside, she said, wiping her tears with the backs of her hands. Okay, Augie, open the door for me, sweetie, said Mom, picking Daisy up very gently like she was a huge, droopy baby. Please, no, Mom, I cried, putting myself in front of the door. Honey, please, said Mom. She's very heavy. What about Daddy? I cried. He's meeting us at the hospital. Mom said, he doesn't want Daisy to suffer, Augie. Via moved me away from the door and held it open for Mom. My cell phone's on the My cell phone's on if you need anything, Mom said to Via. Can you cover her with the blanket? Via nodded, but she was crying hysterically now. Say goodbye to Daisy, Mom. Kids. Mom said, tears streaming down her face. I love you, Daisy, Via said, kissing Daisy on the nose. I love you very much. Bye, little girlie, I whispered to Daisy's ear. I love you. Mom carried Daisy down the stoop. The taxi driver had opened the back door, and we watched her get hit. Just before she closed the door, Mom looked up at us standing in the entrance of the building, and she gave us a little wave. I don't think I'll ever see her look sadder. love you, Mommy, said Via. I love you too, Mommy, I said. Sorry, guys. Mom blew us a kiss and closed the door. We watched the car leave, and then Via closed the door. She looked at me for a second, and then she hugged me very, very tight, while we both cried a million tears. Okay, next chapter. Daisy's toys. Justin came over just about half an hour later. He gave me a big hug and said, gave me a big hug and said, sorry, Augie. We all sat down in the living room, not saying anything. For some reason, Via and I had taken all of Daisy's toys from around the house and had put them in a little pile on the coffee table. Now we just stared at the pile. She really is the greatest dog in the world, said Via. I know, said Justin, rubbing Via's back. She just started whimpering, like all of a sudden. I said, like all of a sudden, I said. Via nodded, like 2 seconds after you left the table. She said, Mom was going after you at first, but Daisy just started, like, whimpering. Like how? I said. Just whimpering. I don't know, said Via. Like howling? I asked. Augie, like whimpering, she answered impatiently. She was just moaning like something was really hurting her, and she was panting like crazy. Then she just kind of plopped down, and Mom went over and tried to pick her up, and whatever, she was obviously hurting. She bit Mom. What? I said. Then Mom tried to touch her stomach. Daisy bit her hand. Via explained, Daisy never bites anyone, I answered. She wasn't herself, Justin. She was obviously in pain. Daddy was right, said Via. We shouldn't have let her get this bad. What do you mean? I said. He knew she was sick. Augie, Mom's taken her to the vet like 3 times in the last 2 months. She's been throwing up left and right. Haven't you noticed? But I didn't know she was sick. Via didn't say anything, but she put her arm around my shoulders and pulled me closer to her, and I started to cry again. I'm sorry, Augie, she said softly. I'm sorry about everything, okay? You forgive me? You know how much I love you, right? I nodded. Somehow that fight didn't matter so much now. Was Mommy bleeding? I asked. It was just a nip, said Via. Right here. She pointed to the bottom of her thumb to show me exactly where Daisy had bitten Mom. Did it hurt her? Mommy's okay, Augie. She's fine. Mom and Dad came home 2 hours later. We knew the second they opened the door that Daisy wasn't with them, and Daisy was gone. We sat down in the living room with them, with the pile of Daisy's toys. Dad told us what had happened at the animal hospital and how the vet took Daisy for some x-rays and blood tests, and then came back and told us that she had a huge mass in her stomach. She was having trouble breathing. Mom and Dad didn't want her to suffer, so Dad picked her up in his arms like he always liked to do. And the vet gave her some medicine, and she wasn't in any pain at all. I've never seen Dad cry before. I've never seen Dad cry before. Tonight, and I had gone into Mom and Dad's bedroom looking for Mom to put me to bed, but saw Dad sitting on the edge of the bed, taking off his socks. His back was to the door, so he didn't know I was there. At first I thought he was laughing because his shoulders were shaking. But then he put his palms in his eyes, and I realized he was crying. It was the quietest cry I've ever heard, like a whisper. I was going over to him and thought maybe he was whisper crying because he didn't want me or anyone else to hear him. So I walked out and went to Via's room, and I saw Mom lying next to Via on the bed, and Mom was whispering to Via, who was crying. So I went to my bed and put on my pajamas without anyone telling me, and put the nightlight on and turned the light off and crawled into the little mountain. And stuffed animals, and I left my that I had left on my bed earlier. I felt like that all had happened a million years ago. I took my hearing aids off and put them on the nightstand and put the covers up to my ears and imagined Daisy snuggling with me, her big red tongue licking my face over and over like it was her favorite face in the world. And that's how I fell asleep. Okay. I am so sorry, guys, but I am an emotional person, and books really tug at my emotions. So, it gets better. I woke up later on, and it was still dark. I got out of bed and walked into Mom and Dad's room. Mommy, I whispered. It was completely dark, so I couldn't see her eyes open. Mommy, are you okay, honey? She asked groggily. Can I sleep with you? Mom scooted over to Daddy's side of the bed, and I snuggled up next to her. She kissed my hair. Is your hand okay? I asked. Via told me Daisy bit you. It was only a nip, she whispered in my ear. Mommy, I started crying. I'm sorry about what I said. Shh, is there anything? There's nothing to be sorry about, she said, so quietly I could barely hear her. She was rubbing the sides of her face against my face. Is Via ashamed of me? I said. No, honey, no, she's not. You know she's not. She's just adjusting to the new school. It's not easy. I know, you know. I'm sorry I called you a liar. Go to sleep, sweet boy. I love you very much. That was big of Augie. He owned it, he apologized, and he didn't have to be told to do that. I love you so much too, Mommy. Good night, honey, she said very softly. Mommy, is Daisy with Grands now? I think so. Are they in heaven? Yes. Do people go to heaven when they get... Do people go to this... look the same when they go to heaven? I don't know. I don't think so. Then how do people recognize each other? I don't know, sweetie. She sounded tired. They just feel it. You don't need your eyes to love, right? You just need the inside. You just need to feel it inside you. That's how it is in heaven. It's just love, and no one forgets who they love. She kissed me again. Now go to sleep, honey. It's late, and I'm so tired. But I couldn't go to sleep. Even after I knew she had fallen asleep, I could hear Daddy sleeping too, and I imagined I could hear Via sleeping down the hallway in her room, and I wondered if Daisy was sleeping in heaven right then. And if she was sleeping, was she dreaming about me? And I wondered how it would feel to be in heaven someday and not have my face matter anymore, just like it never mattered to Daisy. I need to stop there because we're at 13 minutes, and that's our max time, it seems, or so, for me to upload these videos. And then I'll just keep reading and get another one uploaded.